Hey, welcome to the weekly show here on World Wrestling Live with Spartan and Chief of Staff Dan McDonald. It's been really cool. We've had some great shows. We've been able to talk about races that happened prior to the weekly show, races that are coming up, some cool activities that are going on, some future things to look forward. And this week we have somebody that is, a foundation that's near and dear to Spartan's heart. Joe DeSena, the owner of Spartan, has one tattoo, and it's on the back of his leg, and it says Oscarmike. So to tell you how close they are as a foundation with Spartan, and we have Joey here, who is one of the guys that runs the races, the foundation, and what they do is they give back to funding for injured veterans to participate in activities to get them back out and feeling involved again with life and fresh air. So actually Dan, who's not only the Chief of Staff of Spartan, he's also on the Oscarmike team. So he's been running with them for a long time. First of all, welcome, Joey. I'm going to give it over to Dan, and Dan will introduce you a little bit more. But thanks for coming on, Joey, man. What you guys do is freaking awesome. And it's just an honor to have you on.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure to be on your podcast. As I said earlier, anything we can do to spread our mission further, to help as many wounded veterans as we can is our goal. It's just an absolute pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much, Dan. Man, you're somebody that runs with them. You're somebody that knows them as well as anybody. So I'm going to kind of turn this one over to you so you can talk about Oscarmike.
I appreciate it, Dan. So again, yeah, Joey, we're just gonna have a conversation just like we do if we're out on the course, right? So I remember last year, I think it was San Antonio, I believe, out on the course, just after the Atlas carry, I believe, is when I bumped into the team. I was out there running solo, and Travis was trying to get up the creek bed there, and a little bit of challenge getting the wheelchair up there, and just stopped and we started talking, and I realized about 2 miles later, I hadn't left the group and we were still talking and getting through the obstacles. And it's been an amazing journey since then. So please help the people who are watching. So, this goes to the wrestling community, greater wrestling community, high schools, high schoolers and college, to understand what Oscarmike is and what it is the foundation does for our veterans.
Oh, absolutely. That's an easy one for me. Oscarmike, to bring it back to the beginning, Oscarmike was founded in 2011. One of the men who runs it to this day, his name is Noah Courier. He is our founder. He is our general. And the Oscarmike mission, first of all, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. Everything we do is to continue our mission of keeping wounded veterans on the move through adaptive sports. In our sense, we kind of adapted our own adaptive sports to make it possible for wounded veterans and civilians alike. We're non-discriminatory. We allow anyone who wants to come out and help our veteran community to do so. But we started off in 2011 in Noah's garage. And when they applied for their 501c3, while they were waiting for that, they decided that the best way to bring in funding to help all the wounded veterans was to start a clothing company. So they started it off with a handful of simple print Oscarmike t-shirts. And that helps cover a lot of the cost of the overhead to make all of what we do possible. Now, with that being said, the partnership we've gained with Spartan is a huge benefit to us. They allow us to have use of their platform to bring our wounded veterans out and put them through some grueling races. And we don't coddle our veterans. That's one thing I'm sure you're well aware of, Dan. We assist our athletes. We want them to do the work. We want them to earn what they're going through and to try to help them not only visualize, but also to experience firsthand the difference of what you can do and what you're capable of long after the injuries you've sustained in combat. A lot of guys come out, they have physical, visible wounds. We also have a lot of men and women who come out who have what we like to just refer to as invisible wounds, traumatic brain injuries such as myself, post-traumatic stress, autoimmune diseases from the burn pits we were exposed to, a lot of those things that people aren't really capable of seeing. But when you get among a group of men and women who are all on the same level, they've all been there, they all know what it's like. It's, when you leave the military, a lot of times you figure, oh, this is great. It's finally back, take back my life. That time is over, next chapter. And a lot of people find, myself especially, was after a little while, you start to miss that camaraderie, that being part of something bigger than yourself. And the Oscarmike Foundation and with the help of Spartan as well on our side of it, is we have the ability to give that back to them. And that's one thing that has personally saved my life. And a lot of men and women that I've been fortunate enough to meet and work with since then. We also do a lot of other things besides the Spartan side. I'll touch base on that real quick, just so that it's not too much to roll over. We also host week-long clinics in Illinois, where we're based out of. And we take our wounded veterans skydiving to the gun range. We teach them how to fly a plane. We have razors that we let them rip around and have fun in, and sometimes flip them over on accident. Anything we can adapt for the athletes to give them that sense of camaraderie, that sense of brotherhood, that sense of greater than self, is what our goal is. And we try to make sure that by the end of each one of these opportunities, they feel growth, whether it be through physical suffering, which has always been, David Goggins once said, inspiration is found in suffering. And those words really rang true for me, and I'm sure they do for a lot of other people. When you hit that wall where you don't feel like you can push any further, that's where this team and this family, because Oscarmike is more than a team, we are genuinely a family. But that's where we come into play, and we give that little bit of push and that assistance to make sure that they know that no matter what's in front of them, they can continue moving forward. So that's been our mission since 2011. I was brought into the team in 2017. My first race was West Point in 2017, and I had the honor of actually Joe DeCina joined us with his sons on the course for a little while for that race, and he has always been a very, very welcoming man. Very awesome for him to offer us his platform that he's built to let us use it to expand and to help as many veterans as we possibly can.
Oh man, that's incredible. And as I was telling you, my father is a veteran. He's been involved with veterans my whole life. I can't think of a time that he hasn't. And so it's cool to really get to meet you and hear what you guys are doing. It's awesome. Dan, how did you and Oscarmike kind of come together?
Well, and that's how we got together was in San Antonio. So we literally, I was out there running. The guy I was going to run with wasn't able to make it. So I was just going to run the super and have a good time, just meet people was my plan. And this is the group I met. And, Joey talks about it being family. I will tell you, it's still the coolest race I've ever ran, because it took us a while to get that super done. I think it took us about 6 hours. Six and a half hours. But when we crossed that finish line, Joey grabs Travis. I shouldn't say grabs him, but Travis gets on his back, and you can't tell, but Joey's not a real big person. He's pretty fit. He's a pretty tiny guy. Travis is probably 200-ish pounds, and he has no legs.
He told me 185, but okay. I think he's a little heavier than 185.
And so he's on Joey's back, like a piggyback ride, basically, and they go through that fire. And you look up at the finish line, Dan, and every volunteer, every police officer who was there providing security, every staff member, because we were the last ones to cross the finish line that day, lined it up. And if it wasn't tears on those folks, it was tears on the Oscarmike folks, and the hugs and the thank yous and just the genuineness of that. And then get done with it. And I was done. I was done with the race. Joey would not let me go without making sure I had an Oscarmike t-shirt. We didn't know if that was the only race I was ever going to run with Oscarmike, it didn't matter to him. Patrick Taco gave me a dog tag that he had specially made for the folks who ran that day. That dog tag and the one I got the next time in Austin 2 weeks or a month later, they're with me for every race now that I run. I wear them every single race. I consider my good luck charm, just a memory of what's going on. And it's been that way. And and Joey talks about family, and I will tell you, you see it on the course. You see it on the course without a doubt. Everybody's taking care of everybody. Everybody's watching out for everybody. But then there's also usually it's an Airbnb that the team stays at, and you really see the family then cooking together, having breakfast together, saying our prayers together, right, and talking about the day and looking out for each other. It is probably the most bonded I've ever seen strangers really before that day, because it's not the same group running every race. There's a group in the Midwest, there's a group in the Northeast, there's a group in the Southeast, a group in Texas, and they mix up every now and then, and you can't tell that they weren't always there every time. Absolutely.
How many have you run with them now, Dan?
I think it's 10. I think about 10, 11 races now that I've had the absolute honor to get on the course with, and all the lengths so far too. So we did a beast last year in Dallas, which was definitely a long day in the hot Dallas sun. But again, that's where you realize, what it is going beyond your limits sometimes, or what you thought up until then was your limits. Because afterwards, when you cross the finish line, you realize that wasn't it. That wasn't my limit. There's something else. And so I do want to ask Joey if he can help. I know he can explain this better than I can. So you mentioned the invisible wounds, and there is a piece of concrete, cinder block, that travels the course with the folks from Oscarmike. Yes. Can you explain who Cindy is to the people?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Someone I have become very close with over the years, was one of the very first people. He actually lives local to me. We're like brothers. I didn't know him at the time. His name's Earl Granville. When he first started OCR running, after he had lost his leg by an explosion from an IED in Afghanistan, where he lost a few of his brothers. He's an above the knee amputee, and his other leg is basically salvaged together with bolts and metal plates and everything else. He was on course one day. He saw a chunk of cinder block. He decided, well, if we're going to make it hard, we're going to really make it hard. Now, anyone who knows Earl knows that that's really the way he lives his life. Everything is to push himself and everyone around them to become better. He has been a very, very crucial and influential person in my life. So that's basically where Cindy started. It was Earl picks up this cinder block, decides he's going to wrap 8 foot of chain around this cinder block, and he's going to carry it through the course. Well, along the way, he noticed, it gets heavy. It starts to really, rip your skin off your shoulders, which again is part of the game. But he decided that he would sit down and actually give the meaning behind Cindy, which is Cindy represents the emotional and non-visible wounds that we all carry when we return home. And it gets a little emotional for some of us, but I'll maintain through it. So what we do is we'll bring Cindy and the chains out to the event. And the whole idea of Cindy is when that cinder block gets heavy, just like the weight of adversity we're carrying from day to day, you can pass it off to someone else. You can pass it off to a team member who is also your family. And they will help you carry that burden and that weight so that not everything feels like it's weighing on just your shoulders. That symbolization alone tends to help people understand a lot more why we're doing what we're doing. Because you can't always tell by looking at someone what their injuries are, what they're carrying inside their mind or on their shoulders when things get rough. And having that symbol to say, you don't have to carry it alone. Those words hit home so hard for a lot of people. And it's really one of those impactful feelings because you don't just hear it. You get to experience, you get to see it. We want everyone to put their hands on that cinder block and carry that weight for someone else, and then pass it off when it becomes heavy for them, so that it really is that symbol. When you can't see it, you can experience it, you can feel it, and you know what that weight feels like and what it feels like to be able to lift it and pass it to someone else who's willing to be there to help you along your journey.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, as I noticed that when we're on the course and you've got that, cinder block, other people who are running, other Spartans will ask about it. And to see the look on their face as we explain it to them, right, what it is and what it's for, and they realize that they might have those, and those things that they're holding on to, and they will share. They will openly share and then walk with us for a while, right? Or even
Absolutely,
or join the team. Halfway through, they'll just
someone asks about it, and they, if they're interested enough to ask us what we're doing and what the cinder block may mean, or it may just be seeing the Oscarmike flag waving in the breeze or the American flag, and they ask about us, because there's no, Dan, there's never a course we're on where we don't have our OM colors and our American flag flying with us the whole way. But usually when someone asks about it, that's usually my little in to say, why don't you just stay with us? Why don't you come and experience it with us? Why don't you give us the opportunity to show you how much more you're capable of? Because I truly believe that your comfort zone is where your dreams go to die. If you stop pushing yourself and you hit that wall and you decide, well, that's it, that's the end of it for me, your growth stops there. And for a lot of us, and I would say pretty much every one of us who's out there and doing what we do for this mission, they all know that, that wall is just the beginning. When it starts to hurt and you don't think you can go anymore, that's where your journey begins, not where it ends. And having the team and the family to push you past those barriers and through obstacles you didn't think you could overcome, not just on the course, but in life in general, that's what makes the impact for our mission. And that's what continues our passion and our drive to do this as much as we can. I'm also working right now to bring us back out all the way to the far West Coast, so that we will have every region in this country running simultaneously during Spartan season. Because the more we can get to, the more we can help, the more lives we can potentially save.
That's awesome. Obviously what you're doing is unbelievable. And to get to meet you and talk to you and hear your story is absolutely incredible. What part of Illinois are you in?
I'm specifically in Pennsylvania. I lead the Northeast part of our team. We're all one team. We just have different regions. Oh, nice. I lead the Northeast team, and I'm the overall lead for all the stuff that pertains to logistics and everything with Spartan, so that I can make sure our other team leads in the other regions have everything they need set up and ready to go for race day. I'm a very, I consider myself a very small cog in the big wheel, because without the team and the other region leads and our athletes and our volunteers, none of it would be possible. I look at it as though I've been welcomed into something that has changed my life, and I offer whatever I can for it. But alone, I can't accomplish anywhere near what needs to be done to make this thing work the way it does. So it's really the team made up of our family members, volunteers, and our other team leads, Josh Bledsoe in the Southeast, Patrick Toko in the Midwest, Katie Coy in Texas. And as we're working, I'm working with a young man who's also one of our single leg amputees, Christian Rodriguez, who's going to be working out west to keep our mission going even further. Awesome. I'm just a very lucky guy.
Joey, you said Katie Coy out of Texas. I'm like, who's Katie? Oh, Kat. Okay, now.
Kat. Yep. It's hard.
Who in the world is Katie?
Kat, but it's Katie Coy. She's our cat. Yep, she's a beast.
So just real quick, I want to hit a couple things so we don't forget before we sign off here. So the Oscarmike Foundation. So people can go to that and look it up. There's some really cool merchandise out there that people can purchase, and that goes to help the mission. There is also a Facebook page. Get out there and check it out. There's some really cool things out there on that. I do want to talk about one last thing that we're doing, that we're working with Oscarmike on, and that is Spartan is partnering with Oscarmike for a few races that we run throughout the whole year. And if you reach out to either Dan Ward or myself, those who are watching it, and we can let you know what those races are, or Dan can put those in there. But if you register for one of those races that Oscarmike is activating on and put in their code for that race, when you check out, it gives Oscarmike credit for helping them with their mission. And we are donating, it's about 80% of all registration fees for those given races back to Oscarmike to, continue to help with the mission. So we want to make sure that we'll get those codes so Dan, so he can put them in the bio link and stuff to Joey. So we make sure we do a little bit of shout out there for you on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Dan, thank you and Joe. Thank you and Joe. This is not the first time Spartan has stepped up above and beyond to help us with our mission and to raise more funds to allow us to do more. So, as in the past, again, I thank you so much for all your guys' generosity and willingness to keep allowing us to use your platform and help us along the way to continue what we're doing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Go ahead, Dan.
Go ahead, Dan. I was just saying, we can, when you give me their code, I can put their code so that when somebody's watching the show, the interview, I can actually have the code like on the bottom left-hand corner or something, or I can put something in there so that people watching this will have the code to run for Oscarmike or something like that, right?
Cool. All right. So Joey, again, thank you so much for your time, my friend. Are you going to be in Ohio coming up, or is that going to be Patrick?
Ohio is going to be Patrick. It would normally be my region, but 8-9 hours with a 10-year-old kid is not always working. I try to do my best to get as far out as I can. I will have the team in Palmerton. And then we will be following that up with some brutal backbreakers in Killington. We've got quite a few left throughout the season through all the regions. So wherever we can be, we're going to be. But our next Northeast race will be Palmerton. Patrick will have a team in Ohio, though.
Okay. Yeah, I will be in Ohio coming up this weekend. So now I'm going to be selfish too. Are we doing the Killington Beast in Killington?
Well, you know me, I love bad ideas. So we will be doing the Beast on Saturday and coming right back to do the Sprint on Sunday as well.
Well, but I will be changing my registration time and joining you guys. I didn't realize we were doing the Beast. So now that we're doing the Beast.
Yeah, please do.
Fantastic. Well, again, thank you, Joey. Yeah, I know you just met Dan Ward for the first time. I just love having conversations with you. So I appreciate the conversation, my friend.
Absolutely. Yeah. Likewise.
God bless both of you. God bless what you do.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And thank you for having me on. It means a lot, truly.
Absolutely. Right. It's my pleasure.
Appreciate it, Joey.
Anytime. Thank you, guys.
So, Dan, do you, I know we got a couple minutes left. I didn't know if you wanted to talk about any upcoming races, any things we have going on. Is there anything that you kind of want to shout out before we sign off?
Yeah, let's just give a quick shout out to the fact that we had 2 events in the U.S. last week. So we were in New York, in Bethel, New York, and then we were also over in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Some really cool events. I think Joey, you were in.
Yep, I was in New York, right? Yep. Yep, I was in Bethel.
It was a little bit muddy. Just a little bit muddy.
You know what? It was a little bit muddy. It was a great venue. It was really nice, being where Woodstock was, and I'm not old enough to have been to Woodstock. So it was cool to be able to be there again this year. It was muddier on Sunday. I wasn't able to be there Sunday because I had to be home with my son. But we had a couple of our command members lead the team on Sunday, muddier. They said it was a great day, but on Sunday, just as well as it was on Saturday. And we also had a team out in Fort Carson, which was led by Patrick Toko, who is one of our hugest helps in the organization. The guy is an absolute stud, and he's another one who I consider like a brother to me. He's phenomenal. But yeah, we had 2 teams out running simultaneously, and it was a great weekend. We helped a lot of people.
Absolutely. And then Dan, we were also, so that's what you and I were talking about earlier. So again, Spartan is not just the US and Canada, right? I mean, Spartan and Tough Mudder are worldwide. So we were in Switzerland, Andorra, the Philippines, Malaysia, Wales, and then Mexico, along with being in the US and Canada this past weekend. And then we've got Ohio, which we just talked about. That's coming up. AT&T Stadium is coming up this weekend. And we are in one more location this weekend. Dan, do you have that?
Yeah, Tough Mudder, Michigan.
Yeah, there we go. Tough Mudder is in Michigan. So yeah, we have a lot of stuff going on. Please come out and join us. I said, we'll make sure that we get the codes for the different races that Oscarmike is activating on. We're trying to get a goal of 300 people for each of these different events to be out there and racing on behalf of, helping out Oscarmike with their mission. So please, if you get a chance to look at what these races are, if you haven't registered, get registered for them, and we'll continue moving on.
Absolutely. Hey guys, thank you so much. Obviously, Dan, miss you, buddy. I've been on the road for 10 days now. My son's looking at colleges, so we've been doing that. As a matter of fact, I'm in Erie, PA right now, getting ready to head to Illinois. So, but yeah, thanks for letting me do this with you and Spartan, and I appreciate it. And God bless you guys at Oscarmike, and I look forward to getting this out there and showcasing you, my friend.
Well, hey, don't forget, there's always room to put you on the roster with us to come out and try it yourself.
Yes, I am like 50 pounds overweight, and I have found Spartan.
Never an excuse, Joey. He's trying. Listen,
I'm excited.
You've been trying to say this since we met, and he's doing the race with us in Central Florida. So I haven't quite convinced him into doing the trifecta weekend yet, but I think I have him on the sprint so far. We're step by step.
Hey, I've been getting small step gets you started. Once your feet are moving forward, just don't let them stop.
Listen, I've had to have walked at minimum 5 miles on this college trip so far. So
you'll be fine then on the course, especially with us.
I could feel my high school injuries in my knees.
All right, Dan and Joey, thank you guys for your time. We will catch you both later.
Yeah,
thank you guys. Thank you very much. Dan, as always, a pleasure. I'll see you again soon, brother.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Take care, guys.
All right.